Welcome to African American Resources on Family Search post 1865, taught by Lynn Rasmussen and Julia Anderson. My name is Lynn Rasmussen. I'm a certified genealogist and I have a bachelor's degree in family history from Brigham Young University. I'm a United States and Canada research specialist at the Family History Libraries, specializing in Southern states and African American and Native American research.
My name is Julia A. Anderson. I'm an accredited genealogist in the United States Gulf South region, and I have a master's degree in history. I'm a full-time United States and Canada research specialist at the FamilySearch Library in Salt Lake City, and I am currently serving as the first vice president of the Utah Genealogical Association. I'm also a genealogy instructor for Salt Lake Community College. Our objectives for this presentation are to review the standard research process, introduce key family search resources for African American research, and enable you to find your African American ancestors. The standard research process can be broken down into 5 simple steps. The first is to gather known information. To do this, start with what you already know. Write down stories or family traditions you remember. Collect your photographs and family documents and include things like yearbooks, newspaper articles, and programs for special events. Next, ask your close relatives for stories and traditions they remember. See if they have photographs or family documents they would be willing to share. Ask if you can make copies or take pictures. Then, after checking with your immediate family, reach out to more distant relatives. You never know what family treasures might be hiding in someone else's attic or closet. Always ask for permission to make copies and take photos, and be sure to respect your relatives' privacy. If they are hesitant to share at first, they may agree at a later time, especially if you have something to share with them. Some ideas of things you are looking for in the gathering process are photographs, family Bibles, family letters, newspaper clippings, birth, marriage, or death certificates, funeral programs, and journals or diaries. Second, you should choose a specific research goal. This goal should focus on answering a particular research question. You want your goal to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, or in other words, SMART. A poor research goal might say, I want to learn all I can about my third great-grandmother. On the other hand, a better research goal might say, determine where Jane Smith, who married Ebenezer Howell in 1905 and died on the 7th of March 1943 in Atlanta, Georgia, was born. Third, you will want to find new information to answer your research questions. Use the record finder tables in the FamilySearch Wiki to decide which records would be best for answering your research question. Then create a research plan to keep you focused and on track. As you look for new information, it is important to record every record you search, including the date, what you were hoping to find, what you found, and what you think it means. You can do this on a research log, in a notebook, or in an electronic spreadsheet. Fourth, you will need to evaluate that new information to see how it fits in with what you already know. Ask yourself these basic questions. To whom does this record apply? What does the information in it mean? Does this evidence fit with what I already know? Is there conflicting data? Can I trust this information? And what clues does this give me for future research? Fifth, you should share the new information you have found. You can share your research in many ways, by writing a report or journal article, on a blog, social media, at a family reunion, or anywhere else. I find that the more information I share with others, the more they share with me.
Next, we are going to introduce some key family search resources for researching your ancestors. These resources include African American Genealogy Wiki page, African American Online Genealogy Wiki page, Quick Guide to African American Records, Southern States Slavery and Bondage Collections, African American Digital Bookshelf, Freedmen's Bureau Records, Freedmen's Bank Records, and the Other Relationship feature on Family Tree.
The FamilySearch Wiki is the home of most of these resources. To find the wiki, simply go to FamilySearch.org and click on Search in the top menu bar. A drop-down menu will appear, and Research Wiki is the choice on the very bottom. The Wiki search page has two search bars, one in the top right-hand corner and one in the top center. You can use either one. If you type African American into the search field, you will see several options.
The first page we want to show you is called African American Genealogy. This is a great starting place. It has links to African American online genealogy records and the Family Search community for African American genealogy research. Along the right side of the page is a column entitled African American Genealogy Wiki Topics with links to each one. There are also links to articles about name changes, slavery research, and other unique topics. If you scroll down a little, you will see links to the African American state pages with resources on African American research for each state. Links to additional collections are included below. Lower on the page, you can see links to information on collections in the National Archives, African American research methodology, and details on African American history. Even more information is included on the rest of the page.
African American Online Genealogy Records is another page on the Research Wiki. It includes links for online records which are grouped by category, such as vital records, biographies, census records, church records, military, and newspapers. These lists are not exclusive to FamilySearch, but include links to collections on other websites as well. The Quick Guide to African American Records in the Wiki outlines methodology and search strategies for doing African American research. This is an invaluable resource for learning about record types and how to go about finding your ancestors.
We have the Southern States Slavery and Bondage Collections page, which goes through each state, county by county, and details what collections in the Family Search catalog can assist you in your research, along with notes about the particular collections. Many of these collections are digitized and available for viewing online. It is always a good idea to browse through the records in the area where your ancestor lived, because he or she might not be listed by name you know them as. Look for family members and other associates, including enslavers, and use additional identifying information, such as occupation or physical description, combined with family stories to locate your ancestors. African American Digital Bookshelf has an extensive list of links to books regarding African American ancestors, historical context, and guidance to other resources. These books are free to search online. The titles covering the United States as a whole are listed alphabetically and are from a variety of websites, including FamilySearch, Internet Archive, Google Books, HathiTrust, and the Library of Congress, and others too.
The Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands, often called the Freedmen's Bureau, was created at the end of the Civil War to help newly freed enslaved persons, called freedmen, and refugees. It supervised relief efforts, established 4,300 schools, opened 100 new hospitals, distributed food and clothing, served refugee camps, helped freedmen legalize their marriages, find employment, enter labor contracts, and secure back pay, and assisted soldiers and sailors in applying for bounty payments and pensions. The Bureau also helped reunite families that were separated by slavery. The Bureau closed in 1872. During the 7 years it operated, the Bureau created hundreds of thousands of records, and these are digitized and available on FamilySearch. Records of the Freedmen's Bureau contain a wealth of knowledge for those seeking African American ancestors. The Research Wiki also has several pages about these records. One is this article on Freedmen's Bureau record types. This provides essential background information for those hoping to best use these resources. You can search these records directly from the website www.discoverfreedmen.org. This will take you to the Historical Records search on FamilySearch. In this example, I searched for Jack Jefferson and received 190 results. I will need to read through each of these matches carefully to determine if any of them are for the right Jack Jefferson. Here is an example of a hospital record from the Freedmen's Bureau entitled Register of the Sick and Wounded. Here you can see that the patient named Henry Clay, an adult male, was admitted to the hospital for a wound of the gunshot variety. Here is another record from the Freedmen's Bureau, a register of formerly enslaved persons. They are listed by the name of the enslaver and list the individual's name, sex, color, occupation, residence, former owner, and former residence. For instance, this document shows the people who had been enslaved by T.C. Watson: Luke, Rebecca, May, Manda, Selah, and Margaret with her 4 children. Their former owner was listed as T.C. Watson, and both their current and former residences were listed as Stockton, Copiah County, Mississippi. This information is extremely helpful when trying to trace formerly enslaved persons in historical records. Here is a marriage record from the Freedmen's Bureau collection. It is dated April 6, 1865 at Natchez, Mississippi. It states, "I have this day united in matrimony Lewis Jefferson of Louisiana and Delia Robertson of Louisiana. Age of man, 28 years. Color, black. Color of his father, black. Color of his mother, black." Then the rest of his section was left blank. Age of woman, 20 years. Color, mulatto. Color of father, white. Color of mother, black. Lived with another man 1 year. Separated from him by force. The woman had 1 child by previous connection. The witness was John N. Fitzhugh, and the marriage was solemnized by Paige Tyler, minister of the AME Church in Natchez.
The next invaluable set of records on FamilySearch we will explore are commonly called the Freedmen's Bank records. These are the records of the African American Freedmen's Savings and Trust Company. The bank was created in 1865 as a depository for Black veterans as well as former slaves and their families to help them build their savings. However, it also helped community organizations. Many societies, churches, charities, and other private organizations opened accounts and established trusts with the company. With the bank's assistance, hospitals, schools, and institutions were established. Numerous Black soldiers and veterans of the war opened savings accounts in the banks, which closed in 1874. Its records of 480,000 names, estimated to be the largest single repository of lineage-linked African American records, has been indexed by FamilySearch and is available online. Freedmen's Bank signature cards or registers can contain the names, ages, birthplaces, residence, employer, family members, and former enslaver and plantation of those who opened bank accounts. Here is the card for Henry Hobbs. We'll look at this card in 3 parts. The first part states record for Henry Hobbs, date of application October 3rd, 1867, lives in Huntsville on Ham Street, some 8 miles southeast of Huntsville on Widow Hobbs Plantation, age 44 and complexion black. The next section states father Hank, mother Aggie, wife name Harriet Hobbs. Name of children James C. Hobbs, 21 years old, Martha Hobbs, married and lives with father. Her husband's name Charles A. Brown. Place of birth Madison County, 8 miles southeast of Huntsville. Residence Huntsville, Alabama. Occupation shoemaker. The last section of the card was reserved for remarks. It states, father lives with me in Huntsville and mother lives in Mississippi, about 12 miles from Black Hawk. Has a brother Claiborne Hobbs, who lives about 3 miles from town on Jones Plantation. Has a brother Sam in Mississippi. Has 2 sisters. One lives in Athens, Hetty, and the other 3 miles from Whitesburg. As you can see, these bank records contain important identifying information and can be extremely valuable in locating your ancestors and their family members.
The last resource on family search we will discuss in this presentation is on the family tree. Robert Alexander Taylor and his wife Mary Maria Woods were slaveholders in Texas when Mary passed away in 1852. She died intestate, leaving no will. In order to settle her estate, an inventory had to be made of her property, including anything she owned in common with her husband. Mary's probate file was an inventory taken in January 1857. This included land, enslaved persons, cattle, and miscellaneous property such as furniture and tools. The enslaved persons were named. One Negro woman named Emily, aged 30 years, and her 3 children, Eugene, aged 6 years, Harriet, aged 4 years, and Texana, aged 3 years. One Negro man named Elijah, aged 43 years. One Negro, Dilsey, aged 45 years, and wife of the above, and their children, Elijah, Jr., aged 22 years, Anne, aged 17 years, Lewis, aged 18 years, Mary, 13 years, Elizabeth, 11 years, Julia, 9 years, Huey, 7 years, and Charles, aged 5 years. So, the first family mentioned in the probate file was the family of Emily, with her 3 children, Eugene, Harriet, and Texana. The second enslaved family was that of Elijah and Dilsey, with their children Elijah Jr., Lewis, Anne, Mary, Elizabeth, Julia, Huey, and Charles. Another page in the probate file states, all the aforesaid property, meaning the enslaved persons, was acquired by him, meaning Robert Taylor, in the state of Missouri, except some of the young Negroes, which are the children of those women brought by your petitioner into the state of Texas from the state of Missouri. I could go to property records in Missouri and see if I could locate more records regarding these enslaved families. But first, I wanted to record what I had already found. But how could I do this? I didn't know their last names, if they had any. All I knew was their relationship to each other and to their enslaver. First, I went to Robert Alexander Taylor's person page. Then, I scrolled down to the bottom of the screen to the section called Other Relationships. I selected Add Other Relationship. If I click on the little down arrow in the relationship box, it pulls up a drop-down menu. From that menu, I chose Enslavement. Other choices in the menu are apprenticeship, employment, godparent, household, neighbor, and relative. On this page, I can add any information I have about the individual. Here you can see I added Emily, a female who is deceased and was born about 1827. The computer did not find an obvious match for Emily in the tree, so stated there was no match found and gave me an option to create person. Then I got a confirmation screen. It looked correct, so I clicked on Save. Once I saved the information, it showed up on Robert Taylor's person page under the enslavement category. I went ahead and added all the enslaved individuals mentioned in Robert's deceased wife's probate file. Next, I was able to use the ID numbers generated by FamilySearch to connect the families. On the left is Emily with her 3 children, and on the right are Elijah and Dilsey with their 8 children. This Other Relationships option is a great tool we now have at our disposal to connect families even when we don't have surnames or other details genealogists usually use to identify people.
This concludes the presentation on African American resources on Family Search. We reviewed the standard research process and introduced some key Family Search resources for African American genealogy research to enable you to find and document your African American ancestors. Please note that all the links and websites referred to in this presentation are listed in the handout.